Soki Chonamba Jamchu Bardu Dagni Gyatsushi Daki Chunyen Gipe Sunamki Chola Penshir Sange Jubasho Sange Shuran Soki Chonamba Jamchu Bardu Dagni Gyatsushi Daki Chunyen Gipe Sunamki Jola Penshir Sange Jubasho
Schmogity Dokity.
Quiz time.
Homework time.
Homework time.
What are the two different meanings?
What are the two? Homework number one. Class one. Number one.
Thanks for spoiling.
What are two different meanings of form?
Visible form.
We need to clarify. Huh? Physical or visible?
Visible.
Oh, visible. Yeah. So they belong to two different categories.
There's object.
Yeah, to the hips
And the object
And then
of the eye
Wampo
consciousness.
and to the objects,
Object.
sense organs. Wonderful.
What's the Sanskrit?
Rupa.
Rupa. Rupa.
If you are interested in the Chinese,
How do you say the Chinese?
色不为空，空不为色，色就是空，空就是色。
it's the first Chinese rap song.
Woo, woo, woo.
Number two, how many members are there in the group of people form? Please skip the list.
No.
Four.
No.
That's your question.
10, no, it's a real question.
11?
11. They are.
Yeah, there are the five senses and there are 5 objects. And then non-communicating kind.
One. You got one number.
11, right?
Yeah.
Can I give this one to you, Vanilla?
Number 3. Why do they say these 11 are the hippo form? It's kind of like a definition.
Because you can point at it as the hippo form?
That's before that.
Mm.
They say
STW. It sounds like some disease.
STD.
that's not the kind of.
I don't know why my eye went to that.
Any? Well, there's a hint there.
Physical, mental.
Yeah, it's related. Okay, it's a
Because
the other, the rest are mental?
It's physical relation. Okay, I'll give you the answer. They are because they are physical matter which appears only in clumps.
Yeah.
Object of the matter.
Because the mind can't see.
The mind can't see an atom.
Yeah, they can see one single
single thing.
thing. They're all in clumps.
I remember
Stanley, these
that.
are your best questions.
I just know the question.
Those are your best questions.
Oh, thanks. STW. Sexy Tibetan words.
See, I don't know the answers.
I'm showing you the answers.
Yeah.
What is holding your hand like that?
He's like a baby.
Oh man.
Can't see me, I can't see you.
I'm gonna do this way. Okay, the first one is the
Do.
Door.
MDOR indoor.
By the sutra or shortly.
In the sutra.
Correct.
As the sutra.
Or sutra. The second one is soup.
Form.
The Sanskrit.
Rupa.
Rupa.
Number 3, wambo.
Power.
The Sanskrit.
Indriya.
Indriya. Everyone besides word.
At least you're not losing money.
Yeah. Number 4, tum.
Turn.
D-O-N.
What was that?
Meaning.
D-O-N.
Object.
Yeah, in this case, it's just object.
Sanskrit.
Artha.
Artha. And nam rig
Remember Chimin? Yeah, it was really my input. Non-communicating. Nobody did my input.
Give an example. Give an example.
When you take a vow.
Tell Commander Foley. I think he'd be interested in this one. Give the whole explanation.
When we are taking a vow, we do this and then we kneel down with one knee. People can see that it's a communicating form. But after taking the vow, when we go home, we have taken a vow, but we don't do anything. People can't see it, so that it's not non-communicating.
But there's according to Abhidharma, yeah.
There is a aura around you.
Only Stanley thinks
So
that.
if you were to sit down.
So these are two extra kinds of physical form in this school. One is one which communicates your intention. So if we see a person on one knee and in the vow-taking posture, we can assume their intention is pure, although it's not necessarily. But then half an hour later, when they're walking down the street, they still possess the vow in this school as physical form, as a halo, which covers your body for the rest of your life. Cosmic picture, God's photograph, and it stays with you your whole life. So the Abhidharma divides all physical form into that which is evident and that which is not evident. And
only Stanley and Allison believe in that, so they kind of have to hang out together.
yeah.
It's fun. Meant to be.
Meant to be.
That's it.
Yay! By the way, it's Abhijñapti. Yeah, and kill the R. Yeah. That's just a connecting letter.
You can't ask for my help and then blame me. It's okay. I told you the A.
Cool. What's the Chinese pronunciation of Wangbo?
Gun.
Gun.
It's my name.
Gun.
So
Oh, really? What's the Su mean?
Joke with it. Su Gun is the three root.
Oh, 3 powers? Su Gun.
Root. And it also means root.
literally it means root.
Yeah.
Oh, gun, power, root. Wow. What's the Su mean? Su? 3, like Sambao.
Oh, no, tree.
No, tree.
Oh, tree. Ah, Su. So your name is Tree Root.
No, people just joke with it, you know?
Yeah.
Same, the sound is a C.
Sugan.
Yeah.
Sugan. Okay, cool. All right, I'm taking it back. I'm taking the plane back. This one's not very, go ahead, Stanley. Kachik.
Kachik. Oh, I'm reading it.
Yeah.
So Kachik can be tapatel.
Yeah.
Can be tapatel. Homeboy, Tuni, Homeboy, Tunyingbe. Suk, Lung, Wa,
Tamlani.
Sanami, Homeboy,
Turn.
Tum, Ma,
Sena.
We did this last
Makyap. Well, probably we did, but I think I just wanted to hit it. Kachik Demite Patel, it's incorrect to define pink as what?
What you point to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the color of this liquid. How do you define pink? How do you define a color? And in Buddhism, it's kind of clever. They say anything you can point to and say, this is pink. And that's the definition of pink, because otherwise how do you define pink? Yeah. So what's the definition of pink? This color. So now the other guy says that's insufficient definition, because we weren't defining pink. We were defining the heap of pink. Okay, so just saying you can point to it as pink doesn't cover the heap part, because you were supposed to be defining the heap of physical matter, the first part of a human body and mind. So your definition is insufficient because you didn't cover the word heap. Okay, Pumba Dunni, the meaning of heap is pung, piled up. Dunyinbe. Therefore, just saying something you can point to as pink doesn't cover the pungbo part. You're not covering the heap part. Okay, therefore it's a bad definition. We say,
Yeah.
makyap means, do you disagree with his reason or not?
No,
Yeah, makyap means, look, I agree it didn't cover the heat part, but that doesn't mean it's a bad definition. Makyap means not necessarily the case, okay? I agree, I agree my definition doesn't cover the heat part, but you know what? Who needs it? Okay? Like, pink is pink, okay? Got it? Okay. The heat part, everybody on it, we don't have to go into that, okay? All right? Next. Go ahead, Kachik.
Kachik, Kesuki,
Chenyi do.
Seni, Dumi, Tapatel, Sutsu, Nung, Wa, Gena,
Nge.
Ngena, Su, Hyang, Nge, Gor, Be, Gerbe,
Churo.
Churu,
Chisero.
Chusero.
This gets into an ancient debate about definitions. So let's take fire. What's the definition of fire?
hot and burning.
Hot and burning. Okay. So if someone says to you, what's the meaning of the word fire? You can say, look, touch this thing and you'll understand. Okay. So they touch a match that you just snuffed out, and they go, ouch, and then you say, that's what fire is. Okay. So in theory, you should perceive the qualities of fire in order to understand fire. So there should be a time gap. First you touch the hot thing and it burns you. And then the next moment I say, that's what fire means. Okay? So there's a progression between the two things. But he says, I don't like your definition of physical form. Because for me to perceive what you point to as physical form, I must at that same moment already perceive physical form. So it's a lousy definition.
It's not the same as fire.
Well, yeah, well, he would also probably complain about that. Okay, so the idea is, if you perceive the thing at the same moment that you perceive the qualities of the thing, it's not a very good definition. Because a definition should be a theory thing, where you experience the thing, and then someone says, this is fire, in the next moment. But he says, look, Sukitseni, saying that which you can point to as pink is the definition of pink is a lousy definition of pink, because as soon as you perceive it as something you can point to as pink, you already saw pink.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so that's not a very good definition. You see? Yeah, but anyway, and this is, by the way, an ancient question about defining things. If you define things as anything you can point to as pink, well, that's already pink. The person already knows what's pink because you pointed to it as pink. So it's just a pain in the ass definition thing. We'll probably get to it in Adam's text. Okay. Do you have to perceive? Is it have to be? What do you call it? Progression, or not. By the way, we don't even grace it with an answer. He says, he claims, and then we're like, well, okay, go on to the next subject. So, okay. No, we don't say anything. He just says, some people claim that which you can point to as pink is the definition of pink, is a lousy definition for pink, because by the time you see that which is appropriate to be pink, you already saw pink, so that's not a very good definition. And that's all. And there's no explanation and there's no discussion. Okay.
Too good a point.
I know if you had a couple 20 extra years, you could, So he'll be bald and not just white hair.
which book was it where we did the definition?
Well, you could go Adam's text, but we could go to the same argument in a different book where they go into more detail. It's up to you, but it's going to slow your book down. He's already scheduled to finish in 2046. He's on schedule to finish in 2046.
The nice thing
I'll be 92 or something. His book is scheduled. If we don't go on any side trips, it's 2046. So, I don't know. That's pretty optimistic. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Nibala, Wambogna, Tungna,
Good.
Namrik Maimbe, Suk Shepa Suk.
Yeah. So now when they come to part 2, you have to look backwards and find it. And I usually do it for you. So it's in the bold, okay? Which means Geshe. This doesn't mean Geshe, it means Geshe. And it means I will now give you more detail about each of those, okay? Each of what? The 5 powers, the 5 objects of the 5 powers, and that form which does not communicate the intent of the person who possesses it, which is the aura around a person who just took a vow. Other people cannot see it. It doesn't communicate anything to other people. The actual chicken posture that you take during a vow does communicate the intention, but after that no one can see it. It's invisible. But in this school it stays with you. I like to call it God took a picture of you taking a vow. And you know, in science, in theory, the picture of you sitting there is gonna go, you know, someone can see it 1,000 light years later, you know. And they, in theory, if you could go faster than the speed of light, you could turn around and watch Sugang take his vow. The picture would reach you, right? So I don't know, it's kind of an interesting idea. Okay, here we go. We're gonna define the 5 powers. And as we said yesterday, we're lucky with Stanley's text in that we have the whole Sanskrit. And there's only 2 texts that we have Sanskrit for. I think Nick's text partially. And we also have all of Sugang's text, but your whole text is only 1 line. No, I mean, his is sort of cool. His text was extracted from a single verse from the Abhidharma. So there's not much Sanskrit to help us. But we're lucky with Stanley's text to have the Sanskrit. And I'm putting it in before we get to it in class because I want you to take an interest. I want you to know some Sanskrit. And it's just fun. So here's the Sanskrit. You know, see if you can figure out where this stuff is coming from. Okay. Rupa we know, right? Where's the Rupa down here? Suk, yeah. Okay, good. And Chakshu, you know. 4, yeah, and it came into quarter. Okay, so Chakshu means 4. Is there a 4 down here somewhere? I'm sorry. No, Chakshu means eye. The eye, okay. And Adaya means etc. So Miklasok, okay. Okay. Prasada, I don't know. Prasada, I think, means Tangwa.
No, it's like
That's prasad, yeah. But here it means crystal clear, crystalline. Crystalline, prasada, clear. Vijnana is Namshe.
Shraya is 10.
And Ashraya is 10. Yeah, Ashraya. So the short A of the Vijnana met the long A of Ashraya, and it became a long A.
Oh, they came up with that system.
Yeah, it's confusing. So there you go. Tad is those guys. They don't. Okay.
No, it's a dual.
Yeah, I don't know because this is singular. Okay, anyway. Okay. So try to pick up some Sanskrit. You don't have to memorize everything, but it'll help you later. Okay? It'll help you in your translation work. Okay?
I'm just probably missing it, but where's the prasada in the
Tangwa. It's not dung. It's tangwa, which means crystalline, crystal clear, which describes the power of the eye. So in the Abhidharma, the eye power, physical eye power, is cells at the back of the eyeball, the end of the optic nerve, and it's said to be invisible. Like if you cut the eye open, you won't find it. So it's form, but it's crystalline, and you can't see it. Okay. If you cut the eye open, you won't see it. Okay. Anyway, here we go. Read the root text. Yeah, these guys, meaning the 5 sense powers, are the table on which consciousnesses rest. So your visual awareness is behind your eye, depending on that window to see the world. Okay, so the eye power is like the window, then basis, and then awareness of what you see is waiting behind there. Okay. How do you define the powers? There's 5, starting with the eye. Don't forget that in Sanskrit, adaya, la sokpa in Tibetan, literally means starting with. Okay, starting with the eye. So sometimes you can translate it that way. You don't have to say etc. You can say beginning with the eye. Those clear, crystal clear, like if you cut the ear open, you won't find the auditory power, but it's there. Okay, it's crystalline in the sense of invisible. Okay.
Wait,
Okay, you okay?
you won't find the power, you won't find the consciousness.
The power. The power is crystalline. We are defining, in this verse, we're defining the wombos.
But are the powers something physical that you can see?
They would say difficult to see, like possible but difficult.
Difficult.
You would need a microscope or something. Okay, here we go. Dila,
Dila sikun ma
ta,
tape pa
ta chipa.
chepa.
We had this before. What's it? What is it?
Words and then the analysis.
Yeah, first I'm going to give you the meaning of the words, which is facilitated by the fact that we have bolded out. We bolded out the root text. And Stanley's text is like many of your texts, where the author will weave the root text into his explanation. And that's a skill, and people take great pride in it. You know, like, oh, I got the root text into my explanation, and it still sounds like normal Tibetan. And if the person's not very good at it, it sounds wrong. Something sounds off, because they're trying to cram the root text into the explanation. This author's good at it. Chonin Lama, right? He's good at it. He weaves it in, and if you didn't know, you wouldn't know it was in there. Okay, so you have to study. By the way, what you bold out is not automatic. They might mention number shape 3 times in the paragraph. So you have to be able to read the paragraph to bold it correctly. Okay, unfortunately. Okay.
It's usually right the first time.
It could, I'd say 70%, but that's a problem. In your text, he's often not the first mention. So, okay, here we go. Dambani.
Dambani mitla sokpa te da namki nambar shepe den churchin. Gyokjo su yote nit wang la sok pa rang
Debu.
Ndrebu namshe so soy.
Good. All your pronunciation is getting better. I don't know what happened.
Said he slept a lot last night.
Oh.
Ingbe Dakyam Chepe Riksune Be Namki Su Tangba Nam
Tangwa.
Tangwa Nam Ram Mambo Suchen Hayimbe Moboy
Ngoam.
Mo
Yeah.
Sendi Yimbe
Yeah, no, he's done a technical definition, which means he was careful to anticipate any objections. Even if it's 1 out of 100 objections, he's covered all of them, which makes it really long. Okay, so to be airtight, definition, defendable in the debate ground, it's going to be like a small paragraph. Okay, it has to cover all possible objections. Okay, so here we go. He's going to define the eye, and the ear, and the nose, and the tongue, and the body. Okay, Migla Sopa, etc., the eye, and etc. These guys are the den of number shipa.
Support.
Yeah, they're the seat for the visual consciousness. So the eye is like the person looking out the window. Sorry, the consciousness is like the guy looking out the window, and we're defining the window. Right now we're defining the window. Okay. Which is kind of relates closely to Sugang's text, right? Yours separates them, right? What is this, by the way, in your text?
Link 5?
Yeah, link 5. Ngapa Keche. The 5 empty rooms, the 5 empty houses with windows, right? Let's take these supports of your visual consciousness. There is a way of defining them. Okay, joke means to establish them. There is a way to define them, which is just a artificial debate format. Oh, take these. There is a way to define them, and then you give the definition. You could have just said the definition of these is the, but he wants to stick to a debate format. Okay. Mikwa la sopa, each of these has a debu.
Result.
Yeah, which is their separate namshes. Yeah, the window of the eye triggers the consciousness of what you're looking at. The window of the eye triggers the consciousness of what you're looking at. Okay. Tumo mayimba. And they are, yeah, exactly. You can't use, unless you're a Buddha, you can't use the window of your ear to see things. So they line up. They line up 5 and 5. Okay. So tumo mayimbe. Dakien for $50. We had it in DCI level 7.
Yeah, we also oh, the internal factor, which
damn.
Yeah.
You're so expensive. You're like an expensive girlfriend or something.
Without all the perks.
That's true. That's true. You're just a waste of money. Yeah, Ken means factor, right? And Daken means kind of built into you at the factory. So this dak, which is Atman, just means yourself, built into yourself. So the eye is kind of built into your body, okay? So it means like part of the machine of your body, okay? Dakyan. It's a specific Abhidharma term, okay? And it's not at all the same as the gyu. The gyu, which is also called dakpo, which is a guy surfing in Indonesia, is a cause for a baby born in London at the same time. Yeah, that's a whole Abhidharma thing, okay? So anyway, Dakien Chepe, they provide the internal cause factor for their separate consciousnesses, okay, for the result of their separate consciousness. Now, $50 more, Riksunepa. Okay, cancel that bet. Too late. Riksu Nepa is of that type. Of that type, okay. Literally, it exists as that type, Riksu Nepa, okay. And it's used in a definition when there's a greasy little exception. Okay, so of the general type of things which trigger their consciousnesses and is included into your body. Okay, now can you think of the counterexample he was trying to protect himself from when he said of that general type?
Not Buddha?
Yeah, probably Buddha. Probably Buddha, because Buddhas, smell with their toes and stuff like that. So it's not lined up anymore with a Buddha. They open their eyes and they hear something. So I'm guessing he's addressing Buddhas. We may get into it later. He'll leave out Riksanepa, the other guy, and we'll attack him, and we'll see what's the counterexample. It's probably Buddha. Okay, Riksa Bebe. Nangi Sukchen. What's Nangi?
Internal?
Yeah, internal. The 5 sense powers are internal. They're inside your body. Sukchen.
Perceiver. They're of form.
They are physical. The Chen means call. Okay, physical. Okay, Sukchen. So don't struggle with they have form or something like that. Don't say that. It's like the Chen and Semchen. Sentient being, living being, okay? But don't say mind haver. It just means physical, okay? But they are physical in a sense which is tawa. in the sense of crystal. Dangwa is often used for pure water, or the color of a crystal, of a white crystal.
Or types of faith, right?
What's Chen?
What's the wasa?
That's a good question.
It's a damka. We talked about it.
If you add an S, I think you say davangs. Yeah, and it is possible. Yeah. What's the other meaning of dangwa?
Of faith?
Yeah, faith, clear faith, and it emphasizes admiration for the qualities of the object. So depa, faith, shraddha, is sometimes called dangwa. Okay. What's an English cognate from shraddha for $25?
Creed. Heart.
Shut up.
Cardiac.
Cardiac, yeah. It's interesting. The word for faith comes from the word for heart. Hridaya, Heart Sutra, comes to cardiac. And shraddha is based in your heart, so it's crud.
And then creed.
Crud.
It's like the faith.
And creed comes from that, yeah. So I'd say he gets $15. But didn't I say he couldn't answer the question?
You still have.
Let's give him $15. $15. All right. You know who to borrow money from if you need. Okay, Dawanam. Rang Wambo Sukchen by Yimbe Ngoam. By the way, you cut the definition at nam here, where I have this, okay? And the rest is just saying that's the essential nature, or the definition. Okay, Ngoam Tini means that's the definition or the essential nature of a physical sense power. Okay, for something to be, rang. So you have to say comma, rang, wambo suche yinbe ngoam, teni yin. That's the definition, or you could say the essential nature for something to be a physical power. The rang means for something to be a physical power. For it to be a physical power, it's a very difficult construct. Yeah, it just means for the thing to be. For it to be, okay? So very complex sentence. Yeah, pain in the ass sentence, okay. All right, let's go, Mr. Stanley.
Do me gelong takmik ni nam ki ke chet chum wa chenbo shi yu Sheba, Sutam, Bao,
Eh,
Wow,
Tango. Wow. You look at Alice and you go, wow. Now he'll never forget. She Subiche. Okay, so he's trying to back up his definition by quoting a sutra. No, he's quoting a sutra. Kelonta. Oh monks. So now we know who's talking. The Buddha. Oh monks, let me define the eye for you. Okay, the mikni, what the eye is. First of all, it's a nung. It's inside you. It's a keche. It's a door of sense. Through this window, multiple images are born. Okay, this way. Okay, yeah, that's che. Is this very unusual word which means to multiply wildly. And it's used for forest fires. But it means you look at one blue and then multiple memories can be born. Okay, so it's ensign. And the Jungwa Chenpo Shi have acted as its gyu.
The elements, it's a cause of the elements.
Nope.
The great four elements
have provided its causes, which is another way of saying physical in Buddhism. Okay, Sachu Menlung, earth, water, fire, and air. The four great elements have provided its causes, which in Buddhism is a way to say, it's physical. Okay, and it's one of my pet things to say, is that those four elements are very sophisticated understandings of the physical world. They are like entropy and concreteness, and they are not, they think there's little pieces of dirt in the table or something like that. They're not stupid. They are forces like gravity, electricity, momentum. These are very profound understandings that got nicknamed earth, fire, wind, but they're not that. They are elemental energies that underlie all physical matter. So it's a very sophisticated understanding, actually.
Gluons and nothing but glue.
Yeah. So anyway, the four great, and they say Mahabhuta, right? The four great elements, and that always nails it down that we're talking about the forces, the elemental forces, fluidity, like that, motion, fluidity, motion, concreteness, and heat, from relative to absolute zero. So it's very sophisticated, So they have those four things as their components, have provided their causes, and they are Dhamma. Yeah, they are not immediately visible. You can cut the eye open. If you don't have a magnification, you wouldn't find them. Okay. So that proves my definition, because Buddha gave that definition. Okay, that's Chuni Lama. Keep.
Eyes here or eye sense?
So where?
Definition.
Yeah, he's defining
You just said I here.
Mik, etc.
But he's talking about the power, Stanley.
He's talking about
The power, yeah. We're on the Wambunga dan Dunga. We are on Wambunga.
he just used the word eye.
Buddha.
The Buddha did, yeah. But I'll bet you money that the next sentence was talking about the ear. Okay. In fact, you can look for it. Now, thank God for Choni Lama, this next sentence. Go ahead. Yeah, Murphy.
There's a reason why we said it's of that type.
Yeah. So Choni Lama says, hey, you want to know why I said of that type in my definition? Which is really cool that he was sensitive enough that we didn't know what the hell. And he says, by the way, I'm going to tell you why you have to say of that type in the definition. Okay, and it's not what we thought. Okay. So Gyutsen means there's a reason why I said, Muppa means said. There's a reason why I mentioned of that type in my definition. I also wanted to include Deitsungi Wambo.
The connection.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Great.
Okay.
Thank goodness for turning.
Usually Deitsung would mean Tsungden. But you can't have a Tsungden with a Wambo. Tsungden's only mental things. So it cannot mean that. As I remember, there's a Deitsung which means concomitant. So maybe he's talking about other sense powers that are going on at the same time. But would that be in the definition of the eye sense power? I don't know. By the way, I think I got it. Deitsung can also mean in operation at the moment.
Okay.
Six is so. You're talking about the other sense power.
I think maybe he's saying, I don't want to define it as the future sense power or the past sense power. I'm talking about ones which are in operation at the moment. Okay, if there's no sound in the room at the moment, then the ear sense power is not Deitsung. It's not in operation. It's potential, but it's not in operation. How's that? Okay, play with that. Play with that. I think what he wants to say is, I wanted to restrict my definition to ones which were in operation at the moment. And I wasn't trying to define a sense power that's not working at the moment. Okay. I believe Deitsung is an ancient Abhidharma idiom that means in operation. It's not Tsungden. It's not the same as the 5 links between mind and mental functions. It's not that one. Daitsung means in operation. Yeah.
6 says Daitsung can be just a synonym for day.
DE?
Yeah.
Forget it. Yeah. Daitsung is an Abhidharma idiom that means in operation. Okay? Let's leave it at that, and when we come to it in 2048. Okay, all right. You want to go deeper? Okay.
Stanley's young.
Looks like.
I think I saw some gray, yeah. That's on purpose.
It's coming. It is coming. I promise it's coming. Within a page. It's coming within a page. Okay. And I think it's actually the opposite of what I said. I think the one in operation, and then there's the Daitsung, which is the one which is not yet in operation. How's that? But we're going to get there. Okay. Here we go. Go ahead.
La so merpa la gerpa yote. Nawa.
These are all high tone, okay? Nawa, na.
He one boy.
She
do
che. So where in his definition did he say la sopa? Here.
Yeah.
And it was in the root text, adaya, right? Yeah, the I, etc. So technically, as you asked, the Buddha only defined the I sense power. And then our author says, the reason I said etc. was I wanted to include she, the other 4, which are ear, nose, tongue. Lu is kind of skin, but you got to, think about it. It means you're the thing that feels. Yeah, tactile.
Yes.
Tactile sensation. Okay. So that's okay. I mean, we knew that anyway. He said I, etc., and we knew what he was talking about. Okay. Now he's going to have mercy on us. Yeah, let me give you a more brief definition that doesn't cover all the possible debates, okay? And I don't have to Riksu Nepa and all this stuff. Okay, let's just give you a nice short definition you can use in the debate ground. Here we go. Go ahead. Dordu. That was your vocabulary word today. Dordu. Yeah. Tangwa.
Wang ki seni yinba ne luki namshe kinden nam ki suchen tangwate luki one boy seni do ki
Rikbe chair. Okay. Now the crucial thing here is this ne.
Yeah, right.
Which means what?
It covers the powers in between.
Yeah, I'm giving you the first definition,
And the last one.
and I'm giving you the 5th one, and then ... Follow the same pattern for the other 3. Okay, so he gives you the first one, which is the I, and he gives you the last one, which is your feeling, it's touching. And then he says, the rest follow the same. Okay, so here we go. Making the short definition of the I power is a clear physical thing which acts as the inner support for your visual consciousness, for the awareness of what you see. Okay, short definition. And you can follow that pattern up to that clear physical inner thing which acts as a support for the awareness of what you're touching. Okay, got it? Easy. Yeah, now here's this. Go ahead. Yena.
Yena ni yote te sun tang ten che ki wambo ni
Yeah, and my dictionary when I was at your point was called Ken Rinpoche. And I remember being on this chapter studying these lines, and I took him to Brazil, and it was supposed to be for a vacation, but we tricked him, and he taught the whole time. And it's a beautiful story. There was a guy named Sidney Scandiuzzi who was a diamond dealer. And when I went to his house, it was his whole room was full of Tibetan books, Tibetan Dharma books. And I said, "Are you interested in Buddhism?" He didn't know who I was. He thought I was just a diamond dealer. And so he said, "Yeah, I really am." And he said, "I'll tell you a story. I had a dream. And in the dream, a voice came to me and said, build a temple in the mountains and call it Zongava. Call it Zongava Temple." And he did. And he built a beautiful temple in the mountains. And he called it outside of Rio de Janeiro. And so I said, "You got to meet somebody." So then I went home and I told Ken Rinpoche, "We're going to go to the beach." Because he loved the beach because he had bad allergies. So I said, "We're going to go to the best beach in the world called Ipanema." And it is, and for different reasons. And so anyway, we took him there. Sometimes they don't wear clothes there. So anyway, we had, he had like 1 hour on the beach, and then he taught for 3 days straight. And we went to bless the temple in the mountains. And why I'm talking about Tsongkhapa. Yeah, and he heard Zongava, and he had written on the thing Zongava, and he didn't know what it was. And it was beautiful. But anyway, I remember asking Rinpoche in the elevator, what's Detsung? And here it is, okay? So that's how I learned Tibetan. So Yena means there's two divisions to Mikiwambo, to these powers. And I made a mistake. I told you the opposite. So Detsung means not in operation. There is no three things, outer object, power, and awareness, piled up. But it's just potential. It's waiting to get piled up. So Detsung means equal but not in operation. Like the ear power which has not been stimulated by an outside object, and there's no awareness, but it's still there. It's there, but as a potential and not as a working thing. It's not supporting a consciousness yet, and it's not resting on an object yet. The three have not come together yet. The three triggers are not come together yet. So it's Detsung means it's in abeyance. In abeyance. It's not operating, but it's there. Okay, so yeah. So it was the opposite of what I said before. And it's obscure, and I just remember the elevator. Okay.
So in his definition, he's saying that the one is not.
Yeah, in the definition, the Detsung is where is the Detsung in the definition? I don't see it. Let's do it next time. Because we're over. Yeah, it just means you have sense powers that are sleeping, but we still consider them in the definition. They're not working right now because you're not listening to anything because you're talking to your wife.
What's the meaning?
Huh? Puki Joshi Meto Tam Rira Blishi Ninde Kempadi Sangye Shindu Mite Uwagi Doku Namda Shima Jupasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamneya Dayami Ikewo Kun Sanam Yeshe Tsozo Shin Sanam Yeshe Lechungwe Dampa Kuni Topasho. The Ni means each of the sense powers has two versions. In operation and in abeyance.
So should we operable, not in operation then?
You could say in current operation and in potential operation.
Yes, operable.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Functioning and potentially functioning, or something like that. Okay. But it still counts as a sense power, even though it's not acting as a basis for anything.
It's not sensing, but it's like a microphone. It's still sensible.
Yeah, it hasn't been turned on. What's next? What's next?
Teach downstairs in 10 minutes. You start.
Oh, money, baby. Okay.